Om Namah Shri Atirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. We were trying to understand the lectures from Colombo to Almora by Swami Vivekananda. When he returned from his triumphant mission to the West and landed in Colombo after around after around 3-4 years. Then he was welcomed by the Indian society. He was accorded grand welcome, and the people of Colombo, they offered their gratitude, their praise to this sannyasi, this itinerant monk. And in response to that address of welcome, in response to that great feelings of gratitude and generosity shown by the people of India, Swamiji was overwhelmed. Swamiji was feeling the great longing to have come back to his own motherland, and that he is expressing in his words through his knowledge and his realizations of the greatness of his country. And in describing the greatness of this country, his motherland, our motherland, India, Swamiji went on telling that how the Hindu civilization has been always a mild civilization. It is always the civilization which is the end point, which is the final destination of any truth seeking, any spiritual seeking human being on the earth. So Swamiji says this Punya Bhumi, we discussed last time, how Swamiji praised this Punya Bhumi, that everyone has to come to account for his karma. Before the soul goes towards Godward, then he will have to come to India to account for his karma. Then Swamiji praised the very Hindu mind, the generous mind, the universal mind of a Hindu. How broad-minded the Hindu is, that Swamiji told, because he had seen the races, he had seen the people from different parts of the world, and then after comparing the temperaments of different races, Swamiji understood the greatness of the mind, the temperament of a Hindu. So how Swamiji says that how the truth seeking and how the spiritual seeking temperament of the Indian mind is, and how the other races always conquered the other parts of the world through bloodshed. But Indian mind, Hindu, never conquered others through bloodshed, but through love, compassion and generosity only Hindu preached his religion. And when talking about it, Swamiji also told the greatness of our traditions, the greatness of our sincerity, faithfulness to our ancient tradition, that even if Manu, the great founder of our civilization, if he comes back, if he comes alive today, then even Manu would not be bewildered. He would not find himself in any foreign land, because the same laws that were established by that founder of our society are still existing in some variation, after little tweaking into them. So he won't find himself into a foreign land. That also we saw. Then Swamiji went on telling that how religion is our main occupation. That for Indian society there is nothing more important than religion, than spirituality. If he compares it, he praises the Indian person, Indian peasant, that if you ask him, Indian peasant, that how, what do you know about the person, the government, your government, which party you belong to, then he will reply that, what are you talking? I don't know which party you are talking about, what government you are talking. So he doesn't know anything about politics. But if you ask him that which religion he belongs, which God he worships, which deity he worships, what is his Ishtadevata, all these things he will go on telling in details about the mantra, about the Devata he worships. So this way Swamiji takes, he gives the background of, he emphasizes the fact that how a Hindu is attached to his religion, and that attachment of the Hindu to his own religion, to his own spirituality, is the crux of his existence. So explaining this, Swamiji says, we will read further. Individuals have each their own peculiarities, and each man has his own method of growth, his own life marked out for him by the infinite past life, by all his past karma, as we Hindus say. Into this world he comes with all the past on him. The infinite past ushers the present, and the way in which we use the present is going to make the future. Thus everyone is born into this world has a bent, a direction towards which he must go, through which he must live, and what is true of the individual is equally true of the race. Each race similarly has a peculiar bent. Each race has a peculiar raison d'etre. Each race has a peculiar mission to fulfill in the life of the world. Thus Swamiji says that all of us have some karma, some force that we are born with. And we are leading that force ahead. We are working with that momentum. And that same momentum carries us forward. And what we put into, what addition we make into that momentum, into that force, decides what direction we are going to take. So this, as it is true for an individual, the same thing is true for a race. What an individual decides about his destiny is calculated by his actions, by the force that he has put, the contribution that he has put into the already existing momentum of his life. And that will decide the further direction that he is going to take. Similarly, the race, this same law applies to a collective individual, the collective entity that is race. So the race, born with some force, so that force, that peculiar bent of mind will be there for a race also. And that bent of mind, that reason, that main important reason for its existence, that bent of mind or that force or that momentum is. For just like an individual has an important reason for existence, which is his main bent of mind, that is his main reason for existence. So the same thing happens about race. Every race exists for some purpose. That purpose is decided by its years and years of, thousands of years of its growth. And that growth has happened, and that has decided the temperament of that race. So each race has to make its own result, to fulfill its own mission, Swamiji says. Further he says, political greatness or military power is never the mission of our race. It never was, and mark my words, it never will be. But there has been the other mission given to us, which is to conserve, to preserve, to accumulate, as it were, into a dynamo, all the spiritual energy of the race. And that concentrated energy is to pour forth in a deluge on the world, whenever circumstances are propitious. So, as Swamiji says, that our race has got some tendency, some temperament, some bent of mind. And that tendency, that bent of mind, that reason for its existence is what? Is this spiritual energy. Because it never had any bent of mind towards political greatness or any bent of mind towards military power. Our race has been always investing all its energy into spiritual greatness, spiritual power. And that it has been accumulating it, conserving it, preserving it, as if by conserving it, preserving it, it has become a dynamo of that particular power, particular energy. And that energy, that concentrated energy, when it becomes a dynamo, what it does, it supplies energy. So the same way, that spiritual energy that is so much concentrated, preserved, accumulated, is being given unto the world, poured forth unto the world. Whenever circumstances are propitious, whenever there are channels that are open for this, whenever the conditions are suitable, whenever the situation is favorable, then this dynamo of spirituality will deliver the energy to the other parts of the world. So Swamiji continues, let the Persian or the Greek, the Roman, the Arab or the Englishman march with his battalions, conquer the world and link the different nations together. And the philosophy and spirituality of India is ever ready to flow along the new-made channels into the veins of the nations of the world. So as soon as those races whose very temperament, whose very tendency, whose very religion, whose very momentum is of conquering others, of opening different pathways, so that those races, let them do it. Swami says that let them conquer each other parts of the world. But what a Hindu does, he uses those pathways that are created by other races, and he, through those pathways, through those veins, through those channels, he transmits the energy that has been stored, accumulated, preserved, conserved into himself, that he transmits, the Hindu transmits to the other parts of the world through those channels which are opened by these conquering races like Greek, Roman, Arabs and English. So we are using those channels opened by them to express our innate tendency, that is religion, that is spirituality. The Hindu's calm brain must pour out its own quota to give to the sum total of human progress. India's gift to the world is the light spiritual. So what is our contribution? Somebody's contribution may be in technology, building bridges or creating railways or creating ships and sailing in the ocean. So some races are investing their entire thousands of years of energy into developing these things. Somebody developed ships, somebody developed roads or rail tracks, somebody developed other types of channels. So those channels were developed by those races contributed, so to speak, to this world through developing those particular things. But what a Hindu did, how he contributed to the world, is by giving his religion. He always gave his religion because his stock, his dynamo, his conserved spiritual energy is the only thing that he gives, and that is what Swami says is a blessing. His own quota. What is his calm brain? His calm brain is the thing that he gives to the world, and that is his contribution, his gift to the world. Is what light spiritual. So every race has its own contribution. Our contribution, the Indian civilization's contribution, a Hindu's contribution is the light spiritual. Then Swamiji continues. Thus, in the past, we read in history that whenever there arose a great conquering nation, uniting the different races of the world, binding India with the other races, taking her out, as it were, from her loneliness and from her aloofness from the rest of the world, into which she again and again cast herself, that whenever such a state has been brought about, the result has been the flooding of the world with Indian spiritual ideas. So Swamiji says that whenever there has been these all-conquering, great conquering nation, so in the past, uniting different races of the world, binding India. So what it does, whenever India was connected in the past at different times through these events of others conquering and binding it with joining it with other parts of the world, then it has come out of its loneliness and aloofness. It is as if the contemplative, introspective, meditative, religious, spiritual mind of a Hindu has been instigated, has been provoked to come out of that aloofness, to come out of that meditation, to come out of that introspection, contemplation. And the result of instigating a Hindu, the result of poking a Hindu to come out of his spiritual endeavors is what? Giving to the world the spiritual ideas of India. That is the result. Always it has been, Swamiji says, that in the history, whenever it happened, the Hindu gave out whatever he had accumulated, the spiritual contemplated ideas. At the beginning of this century, Schopenhauer, the great German philosopher, studying from a not very clear translation of the Vedas, made from an old translation into Persian and thence by a young Frenchman into Latin, says, in the whole world there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life. It will be the solace of my death. This great German sage foretold that the world is about to see a revolution in thought more extensive and more powerful than that which was witnessed by the Renaissance of Greek literature. And today, his predictions are coming to pass. So Swamiji says that this German philosopher, he is quoting the German philosopher, that how he praised Vedanta, how he praised our Upanishads, which have come out of the contemplation, which have come out of the deep realizations of Hindus. Those Upanishads, that German philosopher is quoting that they are the solace, they are the solace of his life and death. So this is what he is telling, that what is my solace after all this thing, that I bring the ideas of Hindu Upanishads, and those ideas are my solace. They are giving me solace. And then he continues that German philosopher had foretold that the world is about to see a revolution, that he could see these ideas that have been brought out by this conquering of Indian society by the European races, this has instigated in bringing out these ideas of Upanishads into the world. And what it will cause? It will cause a more extensive and more powerful revolution than that which was witnessed by the renaissance of Greek literature. So once upon a time, when Greek and Rome was at its peak 2000 years before, those 2000 years before, they were at their pinnacle of their glory. So during that time, their literature was being propagated across the world, and that was the time when their renaissance was witnessed. The same way now he is telling that this time, these ideas of Indian society, Indian spirituality will, even more than that previous renaissance of Greek literature, they will deluge the world. So this is what the prediction, and Swamiji is telling that this prediction is coming to pass. It is fulfilling. Those who keep their eyes open, those who understand the workings in the minds of different nations of the West, those who are thinkers and study different nations, will find the immense change that has been produced in the tone, the procedure, in the methods, in the literature of the world by this slow, never ceasing permeation of Indian thought. So this slowly, permeating this Indian thought, which is permeating every Western idea, every Western literature, every Western way of thinking, methodology, procedures, tones. So everywhere it is silently, it is working. Behind all the Western developments, now how this Renaissance is working more powerfully, as foretold by that philosopher, is that it is spreading silently and it is affecting the Western way of thought, Western way of methodology, Western literature, Western procedures, and it is permeating, never ceasing permeation. It is so it is never ceasing. It won't cease this permeation. But there is another peculiarity, Swamiji says. As I have already hinted to you, we never preached our thoughts with fire and sword. As Swamiji had told before, that we never cause bloodshed. If there is one word in the English language to represent the gift of India to the world, if there is one word in the English language to express the effect which the literature of India produces upon mankind, it is this one word, fascination. It is the opposite of anything that takes you suddenly. It throws on you, as it were, a charm imperceptibly. So this fascination, Swamiji is telling, this fascination word is the only one word that can fully explain this Indian thought. To many, Indian thought, Indian manners, Indian customs, Indian philosophy, Indian literature are repulsive at the first sight. So when people come from outside, when they look at Indian people, their ways of life, their customs, their manners, then they find it repulsive. They find it weird. So they kind of repel them. But when Swamiji says that, but let them persevere, let them read, let them become familiar with the great principles underlying these ideas, and it is 99 to 1 that the charm will come over them and fascination will be the result. So if they persevere, if those foreign races who come to India and who study the Indian races, Indian society, and they feel repulsiveness, then they should persevere. They should wait. They should study the Indian society. They should study the Indian religion. They should study the Indian people, their manners. And they should read about them. They should read their philosophy. Then, Swami says, 99% people will be charmed. They will be fascinated. So fascination will be the only result of their perseverance. They are studying the Indian society. They will be totally fascinated. So the whole thing will be changed. The whole attitude will change. Slow and silent as the gentle dew that falls in the morning, unseen and unheard, yet producing a most tremendous result, has been the work of this calm, patient, all-suffering spiritual race upon the world of thought. So just like this wonderful example Swamiji is giving, that just like a gentle dew, there is a humidity in the atmosphere, and in the night the temperature goes down, and because of that low temperature, the water vapor that is there in the atmosphere, in the air, that will become water. So it will turn into water in the early morning cold. So in that cold, the whatever humid content is there in the air, it will get deposited, it will get accumulated, it will get, the one layer will be formed, entire one layer of water droplets will be seen in the morning on the trees, on the leaves, in the garden, and that quantity of water that seeps into the soil slowly, silently in the night or in the morning, that what it does, it flourishes the garden. What it does, it nourishes the garden. So this gentle dew, which doesn't make any sound, which is not like an outpour of the rain, which will many times the rains will destroy the garden. Many times the rains will destroy the trees. They will damage the trees and plants and gardens and soil also. But this gentle dew, without any disturbance, without any hue and cry, without any loud noise, it's gently in the night. The droplets will be formed on the garden, and those droplets that water will be nourishing the trees, and that will be actually silently helping the garden so much that much help will not be done by rain itself. Many times rain cannot do that much good to the garden. So much good has been done silently, without any murmur, by a gentle dew that forms in the night or early morning. So this wonderful example Swamiji is giving, that how exactly the same way Indian society, Indian thought, Indian spirituality is like a gentle dew. It won't create much fuss, it won't create any noise, it won't create any kind of disturbance. It will silently permeate, as he told, that never ceasing permeation. And people won't even know. The other parts of the world never even know that where from this calm brain came to us, where from this spiritual ideas, how we are getting benefited from this contemplative, introspective ideas of the Indian subcontinent, that they will never know, because it happened so silently, so elusively it happened. So that is why that is the greatness of our society. Once more, Swami continued, once more history is going to repeat itself. For today, under the blasting light of modern science, when old and apparently strong and invulnerable beliefs have been shattered to their very foundations, when spatial claims laid to the allegiance of mankind by different sects have been all blown into atoms and have vanished into air, when the sledgehammer blows of modern antiquarian researches are pulverizing like masses of porcelain all sorts of antiquated orthodoxies. So Swamiji is saying that when now modern science, the modern discoveries, the modern developments are exposing the limited and the fanatic, or so to speak, the small sectarian ideas which were previously claiming dominance on the society. Now this modern science, modern discovery, and the change that is coming in this through this modern science, it is what it is doing. It is destroying all those structures, those previous structures. It is destroying. And when religion in the West is only in the hands of the ignorant, and the knowing ones look down with scorn upon anything belonging to religion, when now this, in the days of modern science in the West, what happens? People are despising religion, because those discoveries are bringing out the bad practices, the narrow practices, the false practices of their religion. They brought out. how those practices were false, how they were hoax, they were just beliefs which were misleading people. That's modern science, when it brought out this fact to people, then people started renouncing religion in the West. So this Swamiji is saying, this is the result, that people in the West have been renouncing religion, they are despising, they are looking with scorn at the religion. And at such a time, Swamiji is saying, at such a time when people are going away from religion, they are becoming repulsive of religion, that time, Swami continues, here comes to the fore the philosophy of India, which displays the highest religious aspirations of the Indian mind, where the grandest philosophical facts have been the practical spirituality of the people. So now, in such a time when modern science is exposing all the frauds of those religions that they were practicing, then now that time the Indian thought is providing them succor and help. You take our religion, because it is what? Our religion is practical spirituality. These are the grandest philosophical facts, Swami is saying. They are facts. We Indian people don't talk about something which is false, which is just some belief. But we have practical spirituality. So this practical spirituality we will give you. When you are looking for something tangible, looking for something that will stand the test of modern science, then we will give you our philosophy, which will stand the test of your modern science. Swamiji continues, this naturally is coming to the rescue. The idea of the oneness of all, the infinite, the idea of the impersonal, the wonderful idea of the eternal soul of man, of the unbroken continuity in the march of the beings, the infinity of the universe. So what is the crux of our practical spirituality? Oneness. Oneness of existence, oneness of humanity, oneness of all beings, universality, infinity of existence, infinity of universe. So this we have practicalized in our life. This Hindu has practicalized this infinity of existence and oneness of existence. So this oneness, idea of oneness, the realization of oneness, this is the practical realization of oneness he gives to this world. When it is when it is in need of something that will not be broken by the new discoveries of modern science. The old sects, Swamiji says, the old sects looked upon the world as a little mud puddle and thought that time began but the other day. It was there in our old books, and only there that the grand idea of the infinite range of time, space and causation, and above all, the infinite glory of the spirit of man governed all the search for religion. When the modern tremendous theories of evolution and conservation of energy and so forth are dealing death blows to all sorts of crude theologies, what can hold anymore the allegiance of cultured humanity but the most wonderful, convincing, broadening and ennobling ideas that can be found only in that most marvelous product of the soul of man, the wonderful voice of God, the Vedanta. So when those crude theologies were breaking up, were crumbling, then what else will give that that convincing, broadening, ennobling idea? Who will give them in this crumbling structure of that Western religion? What will provide them that wonderful idea, that ennobling idea? That is Vedanta, that the Indian thought. Wonderful voice of God. What a wonderful, see Swamiji's, the adjective Swamiji used, wonderful voice of God, Vedanta. At the same time, I must remark that what I mean by our religion working upon the nations outside of India comprises only the principles, the background, the foundation upon which that religion is built. The detailed workings, the minute points which have been worked out through centuries of social necessity, little rationalizations about manners and customs and social well-being do not rightly find a place in the category of religion. So Swamiji is clarifying his point. What he is talking about religion and spirituality that is permeating the West from India. What spirituality or religion that India has given, let me clarify. Swamiji says that you should not misunderstand that what I am talking about. Which way it is helping? How the gentle dew, early morning gentle dew is helping the world? Is that gentle dew is the principles, the background, the foundation upon which the religion is built. That crux of the religion is what Swamiji is calling gentle dew. So this is the main religion of India that is helping the world. Not that religion which generally people understand by the minute points which have been worked out through centuries of social necessity. Little resolutions about manners and customs. Suppose there are some kind of traditions, some kind of customs, some kind of rules that we follow in our life, social rules, some customs, some festivals. So these are according to the social necessity they have been formed. On the principle is the main ingredient, main building block of this religion, the foundation. And on that foundation, on that crux, on that principle has been built these festivals, these customs, these different traditions, which have been evolved across the centuries according to the social necessity. So they should not be misunderstood as religion. What Swamiji is calling our Vedantic religion, the religion of oneness, is the main principal idea of our religion, is the main building block of our religion. On that building block, on that principle has been built this covering, this kind of surface. The surface is built up of these manners and customs and social well-being, and they do not rightly find a place in the category of religion. So they are just social manners and customs, and at the depth of them, if you dig them out, if you remove them, the social surface, and dig deep, go deep, then you will find the crux of Vedanta, the idea of oneness. Behind all of them, if you go, the spirit of all these festivals, the spirit of all these customs and manners and all these social necessities, that is, the spirit is oneness, the Vedanta. Then Swamiji says, we know that in our books a clear distinction is made between two sets of truths. There are two sets of truth, and our books make a clear distinction. The one set is that which abides forever, being built upon the nature of man, the nature of the soul's relation to God, the nature of God, perfection, and so on. There is also the principles of cosmology, of the infinitude of creation, and more correctly speaking, projection, the wonderful law of cyclical procession, and so on. These are the eternal principles founded upon the universal laws in nature. So this Swamiji is explaining that what is the crux of our religion, what is this religion of Vedanta, what is the two sets of truths that it deals with. This Swami is saying, first set of truth is this. What is that first set? Eternal truth. That is, that abides forever, that will never change. Whatever situation, whatever age, whatever time and space it may be, that will be the eternal truth. And that is one set of truth, which talks about God, which talks about nature of God, nature of soul's relation with God, transmigration. So soul, what all these things that it talks is principle of cosmology. What are the different lokas, different realms of existence, and then there are infinitude of creation. What are the different types of jivas? What are the different types of lokas? What are the different types of realms? What is the karmic system? What is the law of karma? And cyclical procession, that is what, how the cyclically the whole universe is processing, the Satya Yuga, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, again the cycle starts, what is the duration of every yuga, and what happens, how the creation forms, evolution. So how the whole universe is formed step by step, it generates, how it again dissolves, pralaya. So right from creation to dissolution, right from srishti, sthiti, pralaya, what we say. So all these things are eternal truths. This is one set of truth in Hindu thought. That will never change. Any place you go, that truth will apply there also. Any part of the planet you go, any time of the day you go, any time of month or year you go, whichever person it may be, but that will apply to each and every person, because that is the set of truth which is universal, which abides forever. So this is the first set. What is the other set? The other set comprises the minor laws which guide the working of our everyday life. They belong more properly to the Puranas, to the Smritis, and not to the Shrutis. So Shrutis are Upanishads, Shrutis is Vedanta, the thought which is the first set of truth. The Gnanakanda. So what we call Gnanakanda is that Upanishad. That is the crux of Vedas. So Vedanta. And that is the first set of truth. That is the eternal truth. That is the universal truth. That remains forever. And what is the second set of truth? That is Smritis, the Puranas. And they are the second set. What they deal with is how to actualize that first set of truth. How to use that first set of truth in our day-to-day life. How to translate it. How to practicalize it. So it works on those. And that was developed by Puranas and Smritis. They evolved with this so many variety of Puranas. They delineated the different ways of life. So this is the second set of truth. These have nothing to do with the other principles. Even in our own nation, these minor laws have been changing all the time. So because every time situations change, the centuries change, the yugas change, so these minor laws have to be changed. They are not eternal. Customs of one age, of one yuga, have not been the customs of another. And as yuga comes after yuga, they will still have to change. Great rishis will appear and lead us to customs and manners that are suited to new environments. So now who will do that? So there is one eternal truth. First set of truth is eternal, the Vedantic truth, that will apply at all spaces and all times. It will never change. Now that is the first set. But now this second set of truth, these Puranas, these customs that they define, who will define according to the time? So Swamiji says, that will be defined by the rishis. The great people are born in this country from time to time, and they define, okay, now this according to this present time, let us translate those truths in this manner, in this custom. So they will give the society those new laws, or so to speak, modified laws. The previous laws were not applicable now, so they modified. They come, they modify, they do little changes in the customs and manners, and then they give back to the society. Now society follows them. So just like yadyad acharati shrestha, tattad eve tarojana. So those shreshthas, those rishis, when they come, the society will follow them. Society will obey them. That because they give us the laws. Okay, now this you follow in these modern times, in this particular contemporary times, you follow this set of rules and customs. So this is the system that is being working in this Indian subcontinent for ages. Nobody knows from where it began. So this is the tradition. It has been happening since so many cycles. The same cycle is repeating every time. Every yoga, every time scale, there will be somebody appearing on this in this land who will define these laws and give to the society, lead the society into new ways of life. Then further Swamiji discusses, that we will discuss in our next part, that how our generous ideas, how the world had very narrow and very limited ideas about divinity and Godhead, how they were still struggling with defining the Godhead and divinities and deities. So that time, how our Indian subcontinent developed the idea of oneness, that Swamiji will discuss further. How he will compare our civilization with the Mesopotamians and other Greeks and Romans and other civilizations of the historic civilizations, and he will he will show us with example that how they were struggling with different deities. They were proving their superiority of their deity by force. by conquering other race, other group, they used to impose their own deity, their own Ishtadevata upon that race. They will used to force it. So that was their system. But during that time, when that was the temperament of those races, our race, Swamiji says, later on we will see, our race evolved with this idea of oneness, that ekam sat vipra bhodha vadanti. This idea evolved when other races were struggling and fighting and quarreling and battling with each other. That time our race evolved with unifying idea of ekam sat vipra bhodha vadanti. That they came, no problem, you will have your own deity, you will have your own Ishtadevata, don't worry. Swamiji says further that somebody's Ishtadevata may be Shiva, somebody's may be Vishnu, but there is no contradiction. The only one, the indivisible Satchidananda, has been named by one person as Shiva, by another as Vishnu, by another as Devi. So don't fight. No, ekam sat. The truth is one. The eternal truth, that is the first set of truth that Swamiji told, is one. Now you may call him as Shiva, somebody may call him as Vishnu, but they are actually one. Only different names of one entity, one, so to speak, one person, one existence, one truth. So this idea Swamiji takes further, and he will explain to us what is the contribution of our Hindu thought, Indian thought, to this entire world. So we will take it forward in our next discussions. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu